A lot of contact today, but you did a nice job of staying in the game and limiting the damage there. When you think about outings like this, what's your takeaway from it?
I did some things good, and I left some pitches, in spots I kind of like them back. But, if I look back at that game, some of those at bats, I did a pretty good job executing, even with 2 strikes out of the zone. Sometimes you got to tip your cap to their hitters, really going out of the zone, and putting some good swings and some just getting enough of that. Bobby kind of just catches a piece of that ball, and he's fast enough to beat that out. And Pasquantino there at the end, just kind of shooting that ball through. Those are both, pretty good executed pitches out of the zone. And sometimes you got to tip your cap. Salvi going down and putting way too good a swing on a ball that's about to bounce. But that's what he does. He's a tough at bat. You never know what he's kind of looking for. But limiting damage, keeping the contact as weak as I can if it's going to be contact, and a couple double plays. Defense played great. So there's some things I'd like to sharpen up, but overall not. I don't hate it too much.
Miles, how do you look at the responsibility of a starter the first game of a doubleheader, knowing kind of what the day looks like?
Really want to go as deep into that game as possible. To keep our bullpen fresh for the next game. Even with that 27th man, being an extra pitcher, it's not always easy, especially if we don't have any off days coming up. So trying to eat up as much as I can. I'm glad I could go 6 there. Get through the lineup a few times and hand it off to the bullpen, keep the game as close as I could, for our offense to come back there late, which is nice.
Miles, you faced this guy a bunch of times in Chicago, and now that he's your teammate for the last 3 years, what have you learned about his leadership style? Ollie was complimenting your leadership style for the younger group. What have you learned about him?
I love the intensity that he brings. He's as much a bulldog out there as anyone I've ever played with. His desire to win and his intensity that he brings, and I think it's a good example to set for the young guys, because they see how hard he works and how much he cares and how intense every at bat is, whether we're up by 10 or down by 10. Never giving anything away. Whatever position he's at, whether it's blocking a ball behind the plate, last year, or stepping in front of a line drive, bodying up balls at first base, picking things out of the dirt. Just his overall attitude towards the game and the intensity that he brings. Even 1,000 games later, still having that fire in his eyes. It's impressive for sure.